should be singing in your head, if I only had a brain. But it works. You know, it seems like every time I come up here, there's something new. Like, and I don't know who's been doing it, but thank you. I have a sign that says Caution Genius at Work that's been here for a couple months now. I really thank you for that one. Today I have a King of Hearts card and a stress ball. This one might come in really handy. So thank you for the gifts that you bestow upon us at the front. Would you pray with me? Well, God, thank you for this day, for your word. Thank you for your church, for your people. Thank you for the gifts to put it all together and bring you glory. We just pray that you would open our hearts to the word, that you would open my mouth with the word, and that all that would come together to transform our lives and bring you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. So just me or you guys hearing that reverberation? You know, okay, because sometimes we hear things up here, you guys hear different. So we just need to go down a little bit. Is that better? Okay. So we started on this journey a couple of weeks ago called a series on the Wizard of Oz. And if you remember right, the very first week we talked about this beautiful lady here and how she met Dorothy after Dorothy flew a house into Oz and landed on her sister, the Wicked Witch of the East. We talked about how she was dark, represented the darkness, how she was evil, and I suggested to you that she was that way maybe because nobody ever bothered to show her the light. Last week, Dorothy's first meeting upon the Yellow Brick Road after leaving the Munchkins, and Glenda the Good Witch, I gotta get your name in there too, was this scarecrow guy who we found out his calamity was he had no brain. And we talked about how God's ways and God's words are far superior to mankind's. That there's a difference between God's wisdom and our knowledge. You remember that? Because you're all taking notes, right? We gave you a space to do it. Oh, yeah. Just say yes, Pastor Mike. All right, okay. Thought maybe we were killing trees for no reason. But we talked about how that word, that if you study it, if you know it, actually everything you need to lead you to salvation is in here. That the passage from Isaiah was actually a call to join the family, to enter into that salvation. And as she and the scarecrow started right down the path, they met our next unlikely preaching subject, Metal Man. Or as the movie called him, Tin Man. Tinfoil, aluminum, a funnel, and an axe. Pretty much sums him up, doesn't it? I think he kind of had it going on. He had a brain. He could converse. He could dance, according to the movie. I watched it. But yet he has an issue too. He has no heart. And if you go back, son, if you don't have anything else better to do, you can get it on YouTube. Listen to the song he sings, and it's all about the fact that without that heart, he can't enjoy art. He has no compassion. He has no emotions. He can't feel love. Oh, if I only had a heart. And what it boils down to is he couldn't be human. He couldn't commune with nature, couldn't love, couldn't do any of the things that you and I think. And we all know it doesn't actually lie within our heart, but that's where society believes, right? We believe that all those things come out of our heart. He couldn't do it. He had no feelings. The sad part of this week's message is this. We are still surrounded by tin men. We are still surrounded by people who are heartless. You watch the news. How heartless heartless do you have to be to walk into a pool party in San Diego this last week and shoot a bunch of people, killing a mother of 3 that had no connection to him whatsoever? What was I going to say? How heartless you have to be to go into an apartment in Boston and kill 2 elderly people for no reason at all? How heartless do you have to be? How heartless, and I read this almost weekly in this time of year, how heartless do you have to be to walk or to scam an elderly person out of their life savings? All the money they have to live on. How heartless you have to be somebody like that, and you pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, I'm your grandson, and they've got me in jail in Canada, and they won't let me back across the border unless you send me X thousands of dollars. How heartless is that? We're surrounded by 10 men. How heartless you have to be to kidnap a co-ed from the short north in Columbus, Ohio, who hasn't even began her life yet, and rape and murder her. How heartless do you have to be? How heartless you have to be to do away with the programs and feed the hungry and clothe the naked and find shelter for the homeless so that you can pay for other pet projects. How heartless do you have to be? How heartless you have to be to discard people who don't think like you, look like you, have a different lifestyle than you, maybe their bank account doesn't live up to your standards. How heartless do you have to be? They're not only heartless, but they have no compassion, no empathy, and no feelings for anyone but themselves. You all know that I am in the movement to fight addiction in this community. I've been doing it for years. I would tell you there are success stories. I could point a couple of them out to you right now, but I won't put them on the spot. But you know what I face when you try to do that work? I've had a city employee tell me that if you try to start a house for them to live in, I'll fight you tooth and nail. I'll take you before the zoning board. I will block you from doing it. I had another one that was in the same office at the same time with him look at me and said, you don't understand, that's dirty. Just give them a bus ticket to Marion. Heartless. Heartless. Been told that we should just let them die. Now, I'm guessing if I ask for a show of hands, some of your families have been affected by this plague, disease, illness, whatever you want to call it. Is that the answer you want to hear from people? No, we're not going to help you. Just let them die. And my favorite one is this. They get what they deserve. Are they the smartest people in the universe? No. Did they make some poor choices? Yeah. But did they really deserve it? Is that the kind of heart that you want to go forward to help the people of this community? Not me. And it's the church's job, folks. I got news for you. I can show you bureaucrat after bureaucrat that will look down their nose at anybody, whether they be homeless, poverty, whatever, will look down their nose and put them through a cattle crawl that's about as inhuman as you can get, and then we can't figure out why they never changed their lives. You know, nowhere in the Bible does it say, form a government, start a welfare department. It says just the opposite. It says, God looked at the church, and Jesus did in the New Testament and said, you take care of the widows and the orphans. You take care of the people. You feed the hungry. Sometimes the ones that need a heart are us. We have set this church in motion to show that heart, have we not? We have taken, and you all came up with the areas. I purposely stood back. I knew what I thought they were. Actually, you surprised me with a couple of them that I didn't see coming. But you described the 5 areas of darkness in this community. The first is drugs and addiction. The second was poverty. The third was homelessness. The fourth, believe it or not, and that's one surprised me, I never thought of it, child care for second and third shift workers. Because when we work with people, we get them a job, most of their families are disjointed now. Grandma and grandpa aren't there to watch the kids anymore. So if they don't have child care, it actually keeps them from getting out of the mess that they're in. And the last one was how to train, obtain, and retain jobs. Those are the areas you described. I'd say you're pretty accurate. But to do this, we need to have a heart. To do that work, to help those in need who have an endless supply of those bureaucrats, we need people with a heart. And here's the other thing. We have to match the heart to the mission. Now, I'm not a doctor. I was kind of hoping I saw Melissa's kids come in. I thought, oh, if she's here, I'll put her on the spot. But she's not. But if I understand right, if you have a heart transplant, they have to make sure that your blood pipe's right. They have to make sure that the tissue is in your body matches the tissue. Oh, I got a nurse here. Just graduated yesterday. Am I correct? All that has to take, and even after all that, they still have to give them, what, medicine for rejection. But if they don't do that, it's a sure thing that the heart won't work. It will be rejected. We have to put that kind of thought into what we're doing. What heart? What heart do we need to spread the light of Jesus to the darkness that enslaves the people? We have to have a heart that matches the work. We need God's heart. I know no other heart that'll do it. If I don't have God's heart, I will not be able to do the work, and even if I do it, I won't be successful without God's heart. It's God's world. God's will aware of the mess. God sent the light. I need God's heart to do this work. So the next question is, where do I get that? It's actually in that gospel Christmas story from the book of John. The one that Olivia read to you just a little bit. I see in that narrative the answer. Talks about all about how Jesus came to earth, how he was the light, and we've studied that over and over, the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. And that all who believe him and accept him, he gave the right to become children of God. I want everybody to be a child of God, don't you? I'm thinking my workload will go down if everybody's a child of God. That the Word became human and came to live among us, was full of unfailing love and faithfulness. Unfailing love. That's not a human trait. Right? How many times have you said, well, I don't want to talk to them again? How many times has your humanity taken over going, do we really have to go out to supper with them? They're boring, they drag me down, they depress me. Unfailing love is not a human trait. It's a God trait. And God sent it in the form of his Son, Jesus Christ. But here's what you need to take note of. In verse 17 it says, for the law was given through Moses, but God's unfailing love and faithfulness came through Jesus Christ. And then it says, but the unique one, who is himself God, is near to the Father's heart. He has revealed God to us. So if I want to find God's heart, it's pretty easy. All I got to do is know Jesus. If I want to have God's heart, then I can find the answers in here. If I want to find God's heart through prayer, meditation, whatever works for you, that's how I find God's heart. It's Jesus Christ that reveals it to me today. I don't have to read 5 books. Just have to read one. And I find God's heart. Even a cross and death couldn't stop God's heartbeat in our lives, could it? It kept on going. her dad, I'd have him play like some erratic thing and tell you that's what your heartbeat sounds like without God. And then I'd have him go into a really deep rhythm. Because that's what our heartbeat's supposed to sound like. When we have God, it makes sense. It does things. You know, the problem with so much darkness in the world is the fact that not only does it make the people that live that way in the dark, it puts the victims in the dark too. It affects everybody when you're heartless. But I know that the answer is before us. I know that the answer is Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, verse 18 says, but the one and only Son is himself God and is near to the Father's house. He has revealed God to us. If you want to find God's heart, look to Jesus. I can find pictures and insight into this light and in his heart throughout the Gospels. I could have picked a number of different stories, but I just picked one that I want to share with you today. One that I think really drives this point home. It's in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7. Soon afterward, Jesus went with his disciples to the village of Nain, and a large crowd followed him. A funeral procession was coming out as he approached the village gate. The young man who had died was a widow's only son, and a large crowd from the village was with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with compassion. "Don't cry," he said. Then he walked over to the coffin and touched it, and the bearer stopped. "Young man," he said, "I tell you, get up." Then the dead boy stood up and began to talk. And Jesus gave him back to his mother. Great fear swept through the crowd, and they praised God, saying, "A mighty prophet has risen among us, and God has visited his people today." And the news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding countryside. Nain, the village of Nain, is just like a few miles away from Nazareth. And Jesus is out doing what Jesus does all the time. Jesus is walking around, preaching and teaching, and just like all the other stories, he's got a whole bunch of people behind him. Got a crowd. Sometimes I'd sit around days going like, you know, if I would have been a vendor that day and had a popcorn machine, could have made a bundle of money following Jesus' crowd, couldn't you? And they come close to the city, and they have to stop. Because there's a funeral procession coming out of the city. Whatever service they did, whatever, is over. Now they're on their way to the gravesite. The grave would have been outside the city, just someplace on the outskirts. And Jesus has this parade in front of him of the coffin and the mother and the loved ones. And they didn't have coffins like we have today that we seal the lids on. This would have been an open box. And it says that when he saw the mother, he was overwhelmed with compassion. In fact, it says his heart overflowed with compassion. You see, Jesus saw pain. Jesus saw one of his children in need. Not the dead boy in the casket. The mother. There's more going on here than we take into account. You understand when it says that it was her only son? That means something. The father isn't even mentioned there, probably already dead and gone. That son was her way to live through her elderly years. Girls, women, you did not have the right to go to work in that society. If you didn't have a husband or a son to provide for you, life was not going to be good. So when Jesus sees this and when she's weeping, he knows she's going to be a derelict. She has no choice. There's nobody going to give her money. She's going to be reduced to begging. And yet I don't think that's why she's crying. When your loved one dies, there's a whole lot more than that going through your head, isn't there? And can you imagine that your only son? How upset you would be? Can you imagine the pain that was breaking your heart? Her only son, it might have been her only child. Dead. Gone. And Jesus stops in his tracks. Jesus didn't just feel sorry for her. Jesus didn't consider this a minor inconvenience. Jesus didn't say, oh, wait a minute, I got to be in the tabernacle in 15 minutes. I don't have time for this. Get out of the way. Jesus saw one of God's children in pain and sorrow. And he stopped what he was doing and told the woman, quit crying. I'm guessing she didn't listen. I'm guessing she didn't listen. And as far as we know from this story, Jesus had no idea who she was, had never met her or her son, either one, had no tie-in, other than the fact that one of God's children hurt. And he put his hands on the coffin and told the boy, get up. I like the next line. He got up and wouldn't quit talking. But I want you to catch another part of that passage. It says, and Jesus gave her back her son. Do you understand where the son was before this? If he had died as a good Jewish boy? Kind of like Lazarus, probably already with God. And it says Jesus gave him back. Jesus knew that the boy was okay. But the mother wasn't. Jesus stopped everything and used the power of heaven to restore the joy to that family. You understand that's the picture of what we're supposed to be doing? You can take a walk on our downtown streets and see darkness. You can take a walk and see these kind of stories played out before you in this community. You can, if you've got the heart of God, there's a lot of nights you go home and cry. Because you've seen the pain. We're supposed to see that pain. We're supposed to see it with the heart of God, and we are supposed to stop what we're doing and touch them. Sometimes it is an inconvenience. Tough. And we're not supposed to do it out of any sense of obligation. We're not working our way to heaven. We're not doing it to get our pictures in the newspaper. We're doing it because we've got God's heart. Because we know that if we do it right, if we show them the light of Jesus Christ, we can restore their joy too. We're supposed to put Jesus in our own lives so we have his heart beating in our bodies. And then use that compassion, that insight, God's wisdom, God's heart to do God's work. And folks, if you don't do it, chances are it's not going to get done. And if we do it right, did you catch the last part of that passage? We won't get credit for doing it as an individual. We won't get credit for our church. We'll get credit for God. I want everyone I ever know or ever will know to have that same thought. Truly, God was among his people today. What have I taught you? It's not about us. It's all about God. So my question for you today is pretty simple. Do you have the right heart? Do you have God's heart beating in your chest, or just some heart-shaped pendant? Or what does he give him in the movie? A watch that ticks? Looks good? But if I don't have God's heart, the only thing mine does is keep me alive. It doesn't give life to anybody else. If you don't have the heart of God, I pray you'll search for it through prayer, through study, through meditation, and through seeing others as God sees them. Not as we see them, as God sees them. And by doing that, you'll find and empower the heart of God to direct your life and your work. May you find compassion for God's children. And once you do, you got to use it. Because if you don't, it'll rust. Amen.